How much of chronic pain in people's bodies is actually linked to their brain health?
Probably 70%.
Really?
And the book is not just about physical pain, it's about emotional pain. And one of the reasons I wrote it, besides, for me, it was my back, it was my hip, it was my knee, it was my neck. And part of me went, oh, I'm just getting older. But the neuroscientist in me goes, physical and emotional pain run on the same circuits in the brain.
Interesting.
And so I was actually really curious why the supplement, so I own a supplement company, BrainMD, I love it. Why does SAMe work for depression and arthritis? It's like, why is that? Or Cymbalta, a really good antidepressant, is also FDA approved for pain, for chronic pain. It's like, well, why? Because they work on the same circuits in the brain. And when you get your brain healthy, it helps to balance these circuits and the pain is less. And so most people go, oh, it's my back. Yes, it is, but it's also your brain. And when you get your brain right, your back is better. And the other thing that just completely blew my mind that was so helpful for me is I read a couple of studies, especially one that said 80% of people my age, so I'm 71, 80% of people my age with no pain have abnormal back MRIs. 70% of them have abnormal joint MRIs. 60% of them have abnormal neck MRIs. And I would always go, whether it's my neck or my back or my knee, get an MRI. And they would just scare the socks off me. And the people go, oh yeah, it's abnormal, you need surgery. But I know what general anesthesia does to the brain, and it's not a good thing.
Really?
And it's actually one of the risk factors for Alzheimer's disease, the more general anesthesia. And if you're a kid and you have general anesthesia, it increases your risk of learning problems and ADD. And so I'm like, no, I don't want general anesthesia. So when I realized 80% of people with no pain have abnormal backs, I'm like, oh, that means your body figures out how to heal, even though your discs may be arthritic, your discs may be crushed, that before we do surgery, let's get our brains healthy.
Interesting. So people with abnormal MRI scans or with something that looks wrong in their back or their neck, but they don't have any pain around it, how is that possible? If they have something messed up or a disc out?
Because your body is always wanting to heal. And if it gets hurt, if you put it in a healing environment, it still might look hurt on an MRI. Your body has figured out a way around it. So my abnormal C5, C6, which freaked me out, it doesn't bother me at all now because I know everybody my age has an abnormal neck. And it's the freak out that then puts people into what I think of the star of this book is. It's called the doom loop. It's where you have pain for any reason. It activates the feeling pathway in your brain, which then turns on the suffering pathway. And when that suffering pathway goes up, you then get an invasion of ants, automatic negative thoughts. And then you get negative, and then you spin on it, which then leads to nervous tension, which then increases the pain, which then goes to harmful habits, alcohol, marijuana, bad food, opiates, whatever. And then it puts you into this cycle of pain, suffering, ants, tension, bad habits, pain, suffering.
Yeah, you call it the doom loop.
The
right?
doom loop.
Now, how much of our pain in our body is tied to our thoughts?
Well, that's part of the doom loop. It's this invasion of automatic negative thoughts and negativity bias. So I published a study this year. I'm very excited. I think it's the world's largest imaging study on negativity versus positivity. And if you're negative, it actually decreases. What we see is decreased activity in your prefrontal cortex. Now, why is that a bad thing? Well, your prefrontal cortex is the executive part of your brain. It's involved with things like forethought, judgment, impulse control, but it's also part of, so there are three pain pathways in the brain: feeling, suffering, calming. So your prefrontal cortex actually sends signals to the rest of your body. It's okay. Settle down. If you damage this, and we talked about it with football, right? If you damage this, it's harder to turn off the pain signals in your body.
Wow. Okay. So your thoughts impact your ability to either heal or experience pain, either on a positive or negative side, is what I'm hearing you say.
Moment by moment.
Moment by moment.
Every thought you have impacts every cell in your body, moment by moment. When I was a young psychiatrist, I learned a technique called biofeedback, where we would put sensors on your body and look at hand temperature, sweat gland activity, heart rate variability, breathing, and I would do a word association test with my patients. And I would say things that were innocuous, and then I'd say things that were loaded. And so, for example, if I said mother, and mother for me is a good concept, immediately my hands got warmer. They got drier. My breathing became slower. My heart rate variability went up, and it happened immediately. Now, if you said father, which for me was a stressful comment,
You're like, heart racing.
immediately hands get colder, they get sweatier, my muscles get tense, my breathing gets faster and shallower. Every thought you have affects every cell in your body. And there's nowhere, and you know this, there's nowhere in school where they teach us to discipline our minds.
No.
And so people are just left with the negativity, which is worse now from social media and the negative news. And depression has skyrocketed. Did you know suicide in young people has gone up 746% since the year 2000? And it's like, what? Why? What happened since the year 2000? Cell phones, social media, COVID. We have to train everybody. And I think that's part of the school of greatness, right? You have to have the
100%.
mindset. And it's not believing every stupid thing you think.
Or it's also, it's learning how to find meaning in the memories of our life that cause us trauma, triggering, or these stressful thoughts. When you think of father, hopefully you've healed that relationship in your mind, but if you haven't healed something of your past and you see that person, you think of that person, someone says that person's name, and you get tight and tense, that means there's an association around your thinking and your body that is tied to frustration or anger or resentment or shame or guilt that causes you to clench in some way. And that clenching, what I'm hearing you say, the more you do that, causes pain in the body. When you're clenching your thinking, you're clenching your body, you're not relaxing, you're breathing. You're creating more of an environment for pain and suffering to occur. Maybe you don't feel the pain right away, but you're building over time the environment for pain to occur. And so we've got to be learning how to manage our mind.
Learn how to manage our mind, which is a huge part of the book. Another very interesting part of the book that I really love, but initially hated, was I tend to be Pollyanna. I mean, I've really worked on my own positivity bias. I tend to notice what's right way more than what's wrong. But I realized with chronic pain, it often comes in good people who have repressed rage.
Really?
And so as I was working on the book, I had this epiphany.
Rage came out of you?
That Pollyanna, because Pollyanna is my favorite movie, and Pollyanna teaches people to play the glad game, whatever situation you're in, what is there to be glad about in this situation, that Pollyanna needs to make friends with Hannibal Lecter. That you need to have a mechanism to express the negative feelings you have. If you just always gloss over them, you may be, as John Sarno said, a goodist, but you're going to hurt.
Mm.
And there's a fascinating therapy I talk about in the book called intensive short-term dynamic psychotherapy.
What is that?
Because Sarno talks about chronic pain is repressed rage. And I'm like, well, how do you get the rage out? And this is a therapy that says if you are anxious, if you're depressed, often you have rage inside. And so if the anger could come out, where would it go?
And how do you do it in a healthy way?
So
you don't harm yourself or others.
Well, yes, you always want to be thoughtful in how you do this. And you want to be respectful.
Mm-hmm.
There's a exercise in the book called emotional freedom journaling, and I love it. So what it is you take a page in a journal for each 5 years of your life. So 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, and so on. And so being 71, that's 14 pages for me.
Wow.
And you draw a line down the middle, and on the left side, you write, what awesome things happened in my life. And on the right side, you write, what awful things happened. And pretty soon, if you do this, you get to where the rage started. And often when we're born, we want to bond, right? You just had 2 babies, and the babies desperately want to bond. Why? Because their very survival requires that. And so they want to bond. So when something bad happens, they may feel pain, they may feel anger, they may feel rage, but it's like, oh no, I can't have that feeling.
Mm.
And when they have the feeling, they then turn it on themselves, like I did something bad, I caused it. So they feel guilt about the rage. And if they don't process that guilt about the rage, it can lead to all sorts of things, especially chronic pain.
Wow. So we've got to find a healthy way to process rage. Do you feel like everyone has rage inside of them?
Well, I mean, everybody has difficult things, but if you have a high ACE score, do you know the ACE,
Yes.
adverse childhood
Yes.
experiences?
I don't think I've taken it, but someone told me all the things, and I was like, I think I've hit all those things. So I haven't actually written.
Well, I think
down.
when you came to me and you did a history, we probably did one.
Yeah.
So it's on a scale of 0 to 10. How many bad things happened to you growing up? Physical, emotional, sexual abuse, neglect, witnessing domestic violence, having a parent with an addiction, a mental health challenge.
Divorce one.
Divorce is one. Having a parent go to jail. So 0 to 10.
I had all those.
We published a study on 7,500 people that it activates your emotional brain.
Oh.
So the suffering pathway in the brain gets activated with childhood trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Now, ISTDP, what I was talking about, teaching people to get the rage out, or my favorite one, EMDR, stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It's you bring up those traumatic events, have your eyes going back and forth, and you feel them, but it takes away the trigger. It just calms and soothes your nervous system. And in the book, I talk about sort of blending EMDR and ISTDP, which is we'll do EMDR, and if those feelings of rage come up, I'll have you act it out. And so there's a whole bunch of people that die in these sessions, right? And nobody dies in real life. But being able to just get to it and process it, it's so incredibly helpful.
It's so freeing. I've done many different type of therapeutic experiences where I've, screamed in a pillow and brought up these emotions and kind of let them out in a healthy way. And you feel emotionally free. Maybe still it hasn't fully left you and it still comes back at different times, but the more you process these emotions in a healthy, conscious way, I feel like the freer you become, the lighter your brain feels and your body feels from pain and suffering. And that's a lot of what you're talking about from Change Your Brain, Change Your Pain. is finding ways to free your mind, to free yourself from feeling the pain that you've brought upon yourself or other people have brought upon you and you haven't figured out how to release and let go of and process. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy this and you want more inspirational content, make sure to click the subscribe button below and click right here to watch what's coming next.